There's a necklace waiting for you. Not in a jewelry box, not behind glass, but in your mind's eye right now. And the one that calls to you isn't random. It's a mirror held up to your deepest commitment, the one you've been wearing close to your heart, without realizing it was there. The one that's been quietly determining whether wealth flows toward you or away from you. Most people think a necklace is just decoration, something pretty you clasp around your neck for an evening out. But that misses the entire point. A necklace rests against your heart center. It sits at the place where your truest values live, where your deepest loyalties take root. And when you're drawn to a particular necklace, you're not being superficial. You're revealing which commitment is actually governing your life beneath the surface of your conscious awareness. This matters more than you might think, because Andrew Carnegie spent decades studying why some people become millionaires while others remain perpetually broke. And what he discovered changed everything. He found that poverty isn't accidental. It's loyal. People aren't poor because they lack intelligence or work ethic or opportunity. They're poor because, somewhere deep inside, they've committed to something other than wealth. They've committed to struggle because struggle feels noble. They've committed to self-sacrifice because sacrifice feels safe. They've committed to invisibility because visibility once triggered a wound they never healed. Your external wealth will always match your internal commitment. Always. If you're not a millionaire yet, it's not because the universe is against you. It's because your deepest commitment is pointed somewhere else. And until you discover what you're actually committed to at your core, wealth will keep slipping through your fingers no matter how hard you work or how many affirmations you repeat. Carnegie understood something most people never grasp. He understood that necklaces are declarations of devotion. When you choose to wear something close to your heart, you're saying, "This matters to me. This is what I value. This is what I'm loyal to." And your unconscious knows exactly what you're truly devoted to, even when your conscious mind is telling a completely different story. The necklace you select today will expose your hidden commitment. The one that's been silently sabotaging your millionaire status because it's in direct conflict with what you say you want. And here's the truth that might sting a little, but will also set you free. You're succeeding perfectly at what you're genuinely committed to. If you're committed to taking care of everyone else, you're probably doing that beautifully. If you're committed to staying small and safe, you're probably excelling at that. If you're committed to proving your worth through constant sacrifice, you're likely a master at it. The problem is that those commitments don't create millionaires. They create exhaustion and resentment, and wondering why wealth keeps choosing other people instead of you. So today, we're going to use something Carnegie himself would have appreciated. We're going to let your unconscious speak through symbolism. We're going to bypass all the stories you tell yourself about why you're not wealthy yet, and let your deepest self reveal the truth. Because symbols work differently than language. They slip past your defenses. They speak directly to the part of you that already knows what you're truly committed to, the part that's been trying to show you for years if you just pay attention. When you choose a necklace in this test, you're not inventing your commitment. You're finally admitting it. And that admission is where real transformation begins. Not in pretending you're committed to wealth when you're actually committed to martyrdom. Not in forcing yourself to want abundance when you're secretly terrified of what visibility might cost you, but in honestly acknowledging what loyalty has been living in your heart, close to your center, governing every financial decision you've made. There are 5 necklaces waiting for you. 5 archetypal commitments that show up again and again in Carnegie's observations of human behavior around money. Each one represents a different loyalty. Each one reveals a different block. Each one holds both a gift and a shadow, and each one can be consciously chosen or released once you see it clearly. Don't try to pick the necklace you aspire to wear. Don't choose the one that sounds most spiritual or most evolved or most likely to impress someone watching over your shoulder. Feel instead which one resonates with what you're truly committed to right now. Your intuition isn't judging your loyalty. It's inviting you to examine it with compassionate awareness so you can finally decide if it still serves you. Let me describe them for you, and notice which one your attention keeps returning to even before I've finished describing all 5. The first necklace is a delicate silver chain with a small shield charm. Simple, understated, protective. It catches the light quietly, never demanding attention. The shield itself is elegant, but unmistakable in its purpose. This is the necklace of someone who guards, who protects, who stands between danger and those she loves. The second necklace is a thin gold thread with a tiny pearl. Soft, innocent, almost invisible against the skin. The pearl is modest, barely there, reflecting light in the gentlest way possible. This is the necklace of someone who believes safety comes from smallness, that protection arrives when you ask for very little. The third necklace is woven from multiple strands, silver and copper intertwined, with a heart pendant that opens to hold something precious inside. Intricate, devoted, designed to carry meaning. This is the necklace of someone whose value comes through service, who measures worth by how much she can give until there's nothing left. The fourth necklace is a long bronze chain with a compass charm that spins freely. Adventurous, seeking, always pointing toward the next horizon. This is the necklace of someone who believes arrival means death, that growth requires perpetual motion, that rest is a trap that will swallow her whole. The fifth necklace is a statement piece, bold gold with a sun pendant that radiates light in every direction, unapologetic, visible, claiming space. This is the necklace of someone who understands that her thriving creates permission for others to thrive, that her light doesn't diminish anyone else's, that wealth flows through those who can hold it without apology. Take a moment. Don't overthink this. Your unconscious already knows which necklace you're wearing close to your heart right now. Trust that first pull of recognition. Trust what your deeper self is trying to show you. If you were drawn to the silver chain with the shield charm, you need to hear this. You're wearing the commitment of the guardian. And before we go any further, I want you to understand something. This isn't a criticism. This is a recognition of something beautiful and powerful that's also been quietly bankrupting you. You're probably someone who can sense danger before it arrives. You feel the emotional weather changing in a room before anyone else notices the temperature drop. You know when someone you love is struggling even when they're smiling and insisting everything is fine. This is a genuine gift, this capacity to protect, to anticipate harm, to stand between the people you care about and the dangers that could hurt them. Your ability to be a safe harbor in a chaotic world has probably saved people. It's probably why friends call you first when crisis strikes. It's probably why your family leans on you harder than anyone else. And you've carried that weight with grace for so long that you don't even remember what it feels like to set it down. But here's what the guardian commitment costs you. Every ounce of energy you pour into protecting others is energy you're not directing toward building wealth. Every dollar you spend ensuring someone else's safety is a dollar that's not growing in investments. Every hour you devote to anticipating problems and solving them before they arrive is an hour you're not spending on the strategies that create millionaire status. And the deeper issue is this. Your psyche has unconsciously decided that your own visibility is dangerous. If you're visible, you can't protect as effectively. If you're wealthy, people might resent you instead of trusting you. If you're thriving visibly, you become a target instead of a shield. So your unconscious keeps you small, keeps you behind the scenes, keeps you financially modest so you can continue being the guardian you've committed to being. This isn't weakness. This is an incredibly coherent survival strategy that made perfect sense at some point in your history. Maybe you grew up in chaos and learned that the only way to feel safe was to control the chaos for everyone else. Maybe someone you loved was hurt, and you decided it would never happen again on your watch. Maybe being needed became the only way you knew how to belong. But Carnegie would tell you what I'm about to tell you. Your commitment to protecting everyone except yourself is the exact thing preventing you from becoming a millionaire, because millionaire status requires visibility. It requires claiming resources. It requires believing that your thriving doesn't put anyone at risk, that your wealth actually creates more safety for the people you love, not less. The shield you've been wearing close to your heart has been pointing outward for so long that you forgot shields can also protect the person holding them. What if your ability to sense danger and create safety didn't require your own financial invisibility? What if you could be both wealthy and protective? What if your abundance actually made you better at guarding the people you care about because you had more resources to offer, not fewer? If you chose the shield, you're being invited into a profound shift. From guardian as martyr to guardian as sovereign. From protection that costs you everything to protection that flows from your overflow. From hiding your light so others feel safe to understanding that your light is what creates the safest space of all. You are someone who was built to protect. That's not changing. But the question is whether you're ready to include yourself in the circle of people worthy of your protection. Whether you're ready to let your wealth grow so your capacity to help grows with it. Whether you're ready to be seen, finally, as someone who deserves to thrive while she guards what matters. If you were drawn to the thin gold thread with the tiny pearl, listen closely. You're wearing the commitment of the innocent, and this one is subtle because it looks like virtue. It looks like humility. It looks like all the things you were taught made you good and lovable and safe. But it's been keeping you poor for your entire adult life. You're probably someone who still believes on some level that if you're good enough, modest enough, undemanding enough, the universe will take care of you. That safety comes from being small. That protection arrives when you ask for very little. That bad things happen to people who want too much, who take up too much space, who claim too much light. This belief is older than you remember. It probably got installed when you were very young. When some adult communicated to you that your bigness was a problem. Maybe they said you were too loud or too much or too demanding. Maybe they rewarded you most when you were quiet and agreeable and easy. Maybe they gave you just enough to survive but withheld abundance as a way to keep you grateful and compliant. So you learned to be the pearl, modest, soft, almost invisible. You learned that asking for less meant you'd get hurt less. That staying small meant you'd be safer. That modesty was the same thing as wisdom, and you've been succeeding beautifully at that commitment. You're probably very good at being grateful for crumbs, very good at making do with less, very good at convincing yourself that you don't really need much anyway, that wanting more would be greedy, that people who pursue wealth are somehow less pure than you are. But Carnegie would look at you with compassion and say this: your innocence has become a prison. Your modesty has become a strategy for avoiding the risks that create wealth. Your smallness has become a way to stay safe in a world that once punished you for being visible. And here's the shadow you need to see. The innocent commitment isn't actually about purity, it's about fear. It's about believing that if you claim resources, something terrible will happen. If you become visible, you'll be punished. If you ask for what you're worth, you'll be rejected. So you stay small, stay modest, stay grateful for scraps and call it enlightenment. But it's not enlightenment. It's a trauma response masquerading as spiritual maturity. Your unconscious has convinced you that the pearl's value comes from its smallness, from its quiet beauty, from the fact that it asks for nothing, and that's true for pearls. But you're not a pearl. You're a human being with gifts and talents and contributions that the world needs. And those contributions don't get to scale when you're committed to invisibility. Millionaire status doesn't arrive for people who are committed to staying small. It arrives for people who are willing to be visible, to ask for what they're worth, to claim resources without apologizing. And every time you make yourself smaller, every time you accept less than you deserve, every time you tell yourself that modesty equals safety, you're reinforcing the exact commitment that keeps wealth at a distance. What if your innocence wasn't something you needed to protect by staying small? What if you could be both pure-hearted and wealthy? What if claiming abundance didn't make you corrupt or greedy or dangerous? What if the pearl could grow into something bold and unapologetic and still retain its essential beauty? The invitation here is to examine the belief that smallness equals safety, to question whether the modesty that once protected you is still serving you or if it's become a cage, to consider that maybe the universe isn't testing your ability to survive on scraps. Maybe it's testing your willingness to claim the abundance that's been waiting for you all along. If you chose the pearl, you are someone with a genuinely beautiful heart. That's not in question. But the question is whether you're ready to let that heart be seen at full scale, whether you're ready to ask for what you're worth, whether you're ready to trade innocence as a survival strategy for wisdom as a way of thriving. If you were drawn to the woven strands with the heart pendant, we need to talk about something painful. You're wearing the commitment of the caregiver. And this one feels the most virtuous of all. This one looks like love. It looks like service. It looks like everything you were taught made you valuable. But it's been bleeding you dry while convincing you that depletion equals devotion. You're probably someone who measures your worth by how much you can give, by how many people need you, by how thoroughly you can empty yourself in service of others. You're the person everyone calls when they're in crisis, the one who shows up without being asked, the one who can sense what people need before they know themselves, the one who will give until there's nothing left and then somehow find a way to give more. This capacity for deep care is real. It's not fake. It's not manipulation. You genuinely feel called to serve. You genuinely find meaning in helping others thrive. You genuinely believe that your value comes through the impact you have on other people's lives. But here's what Carnegie observed about caregivers who never become millionaires. They've unconsciously decided that their worth is conditional, that they have to earn belonging through constant service, that love is something they have to pay for by depleting themselves, that if they stop giving, they'll be abandoned. So the heart pendant you're wearing isn't just a symbol of devotion. It's a contract you signed with yourself a long time ago. A contract that says you're only valuable when you're useful. You're only lovable when you're serving. You're only worthy when you're sacrificing. And your unconscious enforces this contract ruthlessly. Every time wealth starts to accumulate, every time resources begin to flow in your direction, every time you have the chance to keep something for yourself, your psyche finds someone who needs it more. Someone in crisis. Someone struggling. Someone whose need feels more urgent than your own financial stability. This pattern probably started young. Maybe you had a parent who needed you to be their emotional support. Maybe you had siblings you had to protect. Maybe your family survived because you learned to be useful instead of needy. Maybe the only time you felt valuable was when you were solving someone else's problem. So you wove those strands together. Silver for service, copper for sacrifice. And you wore that heart pendant close to your chest as a reminder that your value comes through giving, not receiving. Through emptying, not filling. Through others thriving while you stay depleted. But this commitment has a cost you haven't fully calculated. Every dollar you give away to someone in need is a dollar that's not compounding in your future. Every hour you spend caretaking is an hour you're not building wealth. Every ounce of energy you pour into others is energy that's not available for the strategies that create millionaire status. And the deeper cost is this: you've made yourself financially dependent on staying needed. If people stop needing you, what happens to your identity? If you become wealthy enough that you don't have to sacrifice constantly, who are you? If you're not depleting yourself in service, what makes you valuable? These are terrifying questions for the caregiver, because your entire sense of self has been built on the foundation of being needed. And wealth threatens that foundation. Wealth means you could stop sacrificing, you could start receiving, you could keep resources for yourself without guilt. And your unconscious is terrified that if you do that, you'll be abandoned by everyone you love. But Carnegie would tell you this: your caretaking has become a strategy for avoiding rejection, not a genuine expression of love. Real love doesn't require your depletion. Real service doesn't demand your bankruptcy. Real devotion includes devotion to your own thriving. The heart pendant can still hold meaning, but what if it held something different? What if instead of holding other people's needs, it held your own permission to receive? What if instead of opening to pour out endlessly, it opened to let abundance pour in? What if your capacity to care expanded exponentially when you stopped measuring your worth by how empty you could become? If you chose the woven strands, you are someone with extraordinary compassion. That's undeniable. But the question is whether you're ready to extend that compassion toward yourself, whether you're ready to rewrite the contract that says your value comes through sacrifice, whether you're ready to understand that your abundance serves others far more powerfully than your depletion ever could. If you were drawn to the long bronze chain with the spinning compass, pay attention. You're wearing the commitment of the seeker. And this one is tricky because it looks like growth, it looks like evolution. It looks like someone who's committed to becoming their best self, but it's been keeping you from millionaire status by convincing you that arrival is the same as death. You're probably someone who's always in motion, always learning the next thing, always pursuing the next certification, the next course, the next level of mastery, always convinced that you're almost there, that you just need one more skill, one more qualification, one more piece of knowledge before you're ready to claim wealth. This hunger for growth is real, Your curiosity is genuine. Your desire to expand and evolve and become more than you were yesterday is beautiful. But it's also become a strategy for avoiding the thing you say you want. Because here's what the seeker commitment actually reveals. You're terrified of arrival. You're terrified that if you stop seeking, you'll stagnate. That if you claim millionaire status, there will be nothing left to pursue. That if you finally arrive at the destination you've been working toward, you'll discover that you're empty inside with nothing left to offer. So you keep the compass spinning. You keep pointing toward the next horizon. You keep convincing yourself that you're preparing for wealth, while unconsciously ensuring that preparation never ends. Because if you're always preparing, you never have to risk failing. If you're always learning, you never have to risk being judged for what you produce. If you're always becoming, you never have to risk being seen for who you are right now. Your psyche developed this pattern for a reason. Maybe you grew up in an environment where arrival meant complacency, where people who stopped striving became bitter and stagnant and lost their vitality. Maybe you watched someone you loved give up on themselves once they achieved what they wanted. Maybe you learned that the only way to feel alive was to always be reaching for something just beyond your grasp. So the compass became your identity. You became the person who's always seeking, always growing, always evolving. And you've probably built a beautiful life around that identity. You're interesting, you're knowledgeable, you're constantly expanding. People admire your dedication to growth. But Carnegie would ask you this: what are you actually seeking? Is it wealth? Or is it the feeling of perpetually pursuing wealth without ever having to claim it? Is it millionaire status? Or is it the identity of someone who's working toward millionaire status without ever having to test whether you're capable of maintaining it? Because the seeker commitment has a shadow. The shadow is that seeking becomes a way to avoid being. That growth becomes a way to avoid presence. That the next horizon becomes a way to avoid claiming the ground you're standing on right now. You probably have skills you've never monetized fully, knowledge you've never packaged and sold, gifts you've never claimed payment for because you're still convinced you need more training first. And every time you invest in another course, another certification, another level of education, you're reinforcing the unconscious belief that you're not ready yet. But you are ready. You've been ready for years. The compass has been spinning not because there's something else you need to find, but because you're terrified of what happens when the spinning stops. When you finally point in one direction and commit, when you finally claim the wealth you're capable of creating with what you already know. What if your hunger for growth didn't require constant motion? What if you could be both evolved and arrived? What if the compass could point toward something and stay there long enough to build wealth instead of always spinning toward the next thing? Millionaire status doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from acting powerfully with what you already know. It comes from claiming the value of your current gifts instead of waiting until you're more qualified. It comes from understanding that arrival isn't death. It's the beginning of a different kind of growth. The kind that happens when you're finally standing still long enough to receive what you've been preparing for. If you chose the compass, you are someone with extraordinary capacity for evolution. That's clear. But the question is whether you're ready to let that evolution include arrival, whether you're ready to stop seeking long enough to claim wealth, whether you're ready to discover that you are enough right now, with exactly what you already have, to become a millionaire. If you were drawn to the bold gold sun pendant, you need to understand something. You're wearing the commitment of the sovereign. And if you're watching this video wondering why you're not a millionaire yet, the answer is probably simple. You haven't been wearing this necklace long enough. You haven't fully committed to the truth it represents. You keep taking it off and putting on one of the others because this one feels too big, too bright, too unapologetic. You're probably someone who knows, deep in your bones, that you're capable of extraordinary wealth. You can feel it. You've always been able to feel it. You've had glimpses of what it would be like to thrive without apology, to claim resources without guilt, to be visible without fear. And those glimpses have been both exhilarating and terrifying, because the sovereign commitment requires something the others don't. It requires you to believe that your thriving doesn't harm anyone, that your light doesn't diminish anyone else's light, that your wealth creates abundance for others instead of taking from them. And if you grew up in scarcity, if you were taught that resources are limited, if you learned that someone always has to lose for someone else to win, this belief feels dangerous. Your gift is that you can hold abundance without apology. You can be visible without shame. You can claim what you're worth without negotiating down. When you're aligned with the sovereign commitment, wealth flows toward you because you're not deflecting it. You're not sabotaging it. You're not unconsciously giving it away or hiding from it or convincing yourself you need more preparation first. But here's the shadow. The sovereign commitment requires you to face every limiting belief you've ever held about money. It requires you to confront the voices that told you wanting wealth was greedy. It requires you to challenge the people who will resent your success. It requires you to withstand the discomfort of being seen at full scale. And you've probably been dancing with this commitment for a while. You'll step into it fully for a moment. You'll claim your worth. You'll be visible. You'll let wealth flow. And then something happens. Someone makes a comment. Someone needs something. Old guilt resurfaces, and you take off the sun pendant and put on the shield or the pearl or the woven strands or the compass. You go back to what feels safer even though it keeps you broke. The sovereign commitment isn't about arrogance. It's not about being better than others or taking more than you deserve. It's about understanding that wealth flows through people who can hold it without collapsing under the weight of other people's projections. It's about knowing that your abundance creates permission for others to claim their own. It's about recognizing that you being small doesn't make anyone else safer. It just makes the world smaller. Carnegie understood this completely. He became one of the wealthiest men in history, not by hiding his light, but by letting it shine unapologetically. And then he gave most of it away because he understood that wealth in the hands of someone committed to their own thriving and the thriving of others creates exponential impact. If you chose the sun pendant, you're being called to wear it consistently, to stop taking it off when it feels uncomfortable, to stop negotiating down your worth when someone questions it, to stop hiding your light when someone suggests you're too bright, to finally commit to the truth that your wealth is not only acceptable but necessary. You are someone who was built to hold abundance, not to hoard it, not to use it selfishly, but to let it flow through you in ways that create ripples of prosperity for everyone you touch. And the world needs you to stop playing small. It needs you to claim millionaire status. It needs you to be the example of what's possible when someone finally commits to their own sovereign thriving. What all these necklaces reveal is that your wealth isn't blocked by external circumstances. It's blocked by internal loyalty to commitments that once served you but no longer do. And the beautiful thing about commitments is that they can be examined, they can be honored for what they gave you, and they can be consciously released when you're ready for something new. As Andrew Carnegie understood, every person succeeds perfectly at what they're genuinely committed to. If you're not a millionaire, it's not because you're failing, it's because you're succeeding brilliantly at a different commitment, at protecting, at staying safe through smallness, at earning love through sacrifice, at avoiding a rival through perpetual seeking, or at dancing with sovereignty without fully claiming it. Maybe you discovered something surprising today. Maybe this test revealed a commitment you didn't know you were wearing close to your heart. Or maybe it confirmed something you've felt for a long time but didn't have language for. Either way, the real power of this awareness lies not in the revelation itself, but in what you choose to do with it. Because now you know. Now you can see the necklace you've been wearing. Now you can feel the weight of the commitment that's been governing your financial reality. And now you get to decide whether that commitment still serves the life you're trying to create. There's no right choice here. There's only authenticity. Only the willingness to see yourself clearly and make conscious decisions about where your loyalty lives. Some of you will recognize that your current commitment still has value and you're not ready to release it yet. Some of you will realize that it's time to take off the necklace you've been wearing and reach for a different one. And some of you will understand that you've been trying to wear all of them at once, and that's why wealth keeps slipping away. This is the beginning of your transformation, not the end, not the complete answer, but the beginning of awareness. And awareness is always where change becomes possible. So which necklace called to you? Which commitment have you been wearing close to your heart without realizing it was there? Leave a comment below and tell me what you discovered. Tell me if this resonated. Tell me if you recognized yourself in one of these archetypes. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Someone who's been wondering why wealth keeps avoiding them. Someone who's ready to finally see the hidden commitment that's been running the show. You're joining a community of women who are done pretending that prosperity is about working harder or wanting it more. Women who understand that real wealth transformation happens when you finally examine the unconscious loyalties that have been governing your choices. Women who are brave enough to look at their commitments and ask whether those commitments still serve them. If this video resonated with you, if it helped you see something you've been missing, please hit the like button. It helps other women who need this message find it. And subscribe to the Wealth Code for more insights into the psychology of prosperity, the hidden blocks that keep you from wealth, and the unconscious patterns that determine your financial reality. Next time, we're exploring something that might surprise you. We're going to look at the doors you've been walking through your entire life and discover why some of them lead to wealth while others lead to the same struggles disguised as new opportunities. It's going to reveal patterns you didn't know you were repeating. Remember, this test isn't just analysis. It's a conversation with your own wisdom. It's your unconscious trying to show you the truth so you can finally choose something different, so you can finally shift your deepest commitment from whatever's been keeping you small to the sovereignty that creates millionaire status. Thank you for exploring this with me, for being willing to look at the necklace you've been wearing, for considering that maybe your poverty isn't about what you lack, but about what you're unconsciously loyal to. Until next time, stay curious and keep revealing the truth within you.